of the smartboard.
It just gives you an example of how many kinesthetic learners there really are out there, and how many of us who are kinesthetic learners but don't really realize it until we start working with something like this. So if we can come back to what we were talking about here about these objects. Now the nice thing about objects is that once you put them on the screen, they're movable, they can be moved around. There's also a feature here that allows us to convert it to text.
Excellent.
Now in this instance, all we're doing is we're just working with text or with handwriting, as you've seen here, but you can also bring in pictures, drawings, any other number of things that you want. And another interesting piece is that you can resize the object, you can rotate the object to whatever you want. And so it's really easy to create manipulative exercises that help kids to sort activities and to group items based on common characteristics. I just want to take this one step further and show you another feature here of the board. Now, back in the old days in school, the teacher might have been using an overhead projector and would have had an acetate on there, but there's lots of information and they wanted to hide that, and what they would use is just put a piece of paper over top.
You slide the paper.
You slide the paper down, yes, but invariably the paper would blow off from the fan before you wanted it to. So in here there's something called a shade screen, and with this, what I can do with this is I can reveal a little bit of text at a time, and this is a great tool for keeping people on task and keeping them focused. So in this instance here, we can just show the title of this article. And now we can ask the students for predictions about what they think is going to be in that article. And then as we need to, we can reveal, one or two sentences at a time. And if we had more time, we could show this and go through this in more detail, but I'm just going to show you one paragraph here. The other piece about this, it comes back to the fact that objects are movable, is the fact that we might want to use this for having the kids fill in blanks on this. And this is an example of something called closed reading assignments. And students can read along here, they can see the text that's at the bottom, and they know that one of these words is going to fit into this particular category. So the kids have options, or the teacher has option here with the kids, is that you can have the kids drag and drop the name in here, or you can have them actually write it in, or they can write it anywhere and then resize it and drop it into that location. Again, this is a spot where that student who's not able to come to the smart board is able to connect remotely.
With the smart sync, they can actually do it.
They can connect to it again and be part of that class. Okay. In here, in terms of visuals and so on, what I wanted to do is to show you another device that Smart has, and this is called a Smart Response Unit, and this is just one of about 4 different models. With this, and using the Smart software, a teacher can pose questions and assessments. Students answer with this, and it'll take 6 different types of answers, so that there's lots of range in here in terms of what the students provide and the types of questions that are asked. The information is shown on the smart board, so again the teacher can add in video, audio, images as part of an assessment so that more students can be participating in it and get more out of it. And you're really, you're really relating to people's different learning styles.
Well, if you recall, John, last November we had the ADHD night in Oshawa, and we had 40 people with those devices answering questions about ADHD.
That's correct.
And they were all adults, and they were all excited.
Exactly. And there's 3 or 4 different models of this. This one is a fairly advanced model, and it's designed to have mathematical calculations and formulas in it and so on. But the latest version is one that's completely internet-based. And as long as you have an internet-enabled device, you can participate in this. So again, for those people who can't get up and move around or who are timid or shy, there's more of an opportunity for them to become involved with this. On an image such as this one here, this is just one that I grabbed from the gallery that's part of Smart Notebook software. And what I'll do is I'll just bring it up in here and make it a lot larger. And you can learn a lot from looking at pictures and having people analyze pictures for detail. And sometimes you need to be able to focus in on a certain part of the picture. And with this, you can see that I can make it as large as I want. But what I really want to do is I want to be able to have the students focus on specific objects. So I've selected a tool over here that's called the Magic Pen. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a circle around this car, because that car gives us a clue as to the age of this particular painting, when it might have been done and so on. So, and I'm just going to close that off, and come back in here, and I'll just draw another circle around this. And now what we could do, if we're working with a group of students who might be looking on ways to improve their behavior, we can talk about the mood that these children are showing, and we can predict, you know, what kind of the conversation is about, and we can engage kids in all kinds of learning in ways that is not easy to do otherwise. And if we have a need for someone who's back a distance and needs to see this, we can draw a square on the page, and then what we can do is we can actually magnify that part of the screen so that it becomes more visible to people. Okay, so let's move on here. We've already talked about most of these pieces here. What we haven't talked about is this thing called the smart table. It's a separate device, and it's designed specifically for kids up to about age 3, and it's based on a collaborative learning model. So students have to work together to solve problems. And there are hundreds and hundreds of modules that have been built, that have been created for this. And this surface accepts up to 40 simultaneous touch points.
Wow.
So you could have 4 kids around this, each of them using all of their fingers and their thumbs, and it can all be manipulating objects. And there are activities like, you know, sort the items based on different characteristics, adding up. There's one activity that says, you know, the sum here is, let's say it's 26 cents. The students have to collectively put 26 fingers on the screen before it accepts it and then says, yes, this is right, and goes on to the next one. So,
wonderful.
So there are all sorts of pieces like that that are in that. And we have 2 of these that we loan out to schools, and for the last 3 years they've been on the go around the province nonstop.
Right.
You know, they're just
that I can believe.
That they're just that popular with people. So we'll move on here, and I want to take a look at this particular piece in here. And there's actually a couple items that we're going to cover here, and you'll have to excuse the voice in this because I did the recording on this. But each one of these objects that you see here, they all came out of the gallery. The gallery is a collection of resources. There's about 6,800 of them that are available for people to use. And what I've done is I've attached a sound to each one of them. I know that there's a sound here because there's a speaker on here. So if I select the speaker, well, actually first I'll become a cursor again.
Orange.
And it'll say the word. So this is a really simple matching activity, but you could use it with almost anything. So even if a student has no ability to decipher, decode words, they can then come along through here and say, I think this is the word orange. And do you want to hit that?
Orange.
There we go.
Okay, so now the student knows that they have a match, and you can take and you can create this, push this over here to match this. And these sounds were just recorded using the Smart Notebook software. It's a very easy thing to do, and it just becomes part of it. But what I really wanted to show you here is another example of how a school and parents and home can work together.
Right.
And how
this is really significant.
Yes, it is. And how teachers can keep parents informed on the kinds of progress that kids are making in a way that is easy for everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate something here called a Smart Recorder, and this is part of the Notebook software. And a Smart Recorder allows you to capture what's happening on the screen as it's happening in real time. It also picks up sound if you have a microphone here, and it saves it as a video file that you can play back, or you can post and you can send to parents. So I'm just going to use this drop-down menu here and choose a section of the screen that I want to record. So I select to record this area, and I'll just draw a box around this section here. And then, Don, what I'll get you to do is just to match the names to the objects.
Oh, okay. I'll bring the apple over here, and the banana over here, and the strawberry, we'll bring it up here. And finally, we'll bring the orange over there.
Well, that's great. And now what I'll do is I'll stop this recording. And what it wants to do is it wants to save this with a date and time stamp. I could give it another time stamp. I could give it the name of the student, but I'm just going to use the time stamp that's there. And it's going to take a moment now to save this file. And so it tells me that this file is 142 kilobytes, and now I have the option to play it. So I'll select here to play, and I'll choose OK.
Just to match the names to the objects.
Oh, okay.
And what you'll see here is you'll see things moving around on this. Okay.
That's great. And now what I'll do is I'll stop.
So you can see that we just stopped in on this. So now the teacher has this recording, which could very easily just be dropped into an email and sent to the parents, or be kept for any type of an IPRC review that's going to happen at a later point.
And this is a feature that my parents, when they come down and I show them the smartboard, when I tell them about this feature, this makes them excited.
Yeah, and you know what else is with this is that if sometimes students' progress is quite slow, and you can't really measure it from one day to the next. But if you have milestones from, say, the fall to the winter to the spring, you're able to look back, and you have this live record of what's happening. And then it's easier to see what kind of progress has been made over a period of time.
We have time, John, for about one last thing here. What else have you got that you really like? Oh, the contrast is great. White on black for people with vision problems.
Right, so what I was going to say here is that, you know, we've been working with a white background, but here we have a black background, and I'm going to choose a white pen, and what I'll do is I'll just write with that white pen. So for students who don't work well with a white background, we can change it around, and there are all kinds of features that you can use, in all the different types of colors that you can use.
That is fabulous.
Okay. And let's see in here.
Oh, this is the die.
This is the die. So here, let me just become a pointer again.
And when I roll it, watch, it keeps changing. Well, it will keep changing. Ah, well, it keeps changing. This baby likes to come up. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But you can program this, and that's important. Well, John, I know we still got a bit to go, but we've pretty much run out of time. I want to thank you, sir, for coming.
My pleasure.
And that, of course, brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for joining me. I really, really want to thank John. You can find out more about it at our website, www.rogerstv.com/foremanability. And I'm reminding all workers out there, and all, not only workers, the employers, look past the disability, hire the ability. You'll be glad you did. See you next week.